Could you imagine if Trump killed Osama bin Laden? Could you imagine he'd be on TV? Ladies and gentlemen.
What is pussy poppin', you beautiful humans? My name is Andrew.
I'm Matt Dillon, and welcome to another piping hot episode of Sippin' the Tea Quarantine Edition. We're in the home. We are living our best life. What's going on, girl?
What is poppin'? Who you got over there?
I got Miss Mama.
And I got little Glitty.
And what are we going to do with our tea? Wait, where's that tea, honey?
We're going to spill that tea.
Let's get it. Let's get it. All right, guys. I think in these times we need a little bit of lightness, a little bit of humor. We have the main man. He just dropped a new comedy album. Pigeon Glickman, what is up, my buddy? Do we have you there?
I'm here. How are you guys?
We're doing good, brother.
Good. Thanks so much for having me on the show.
Yeah, of course. Well, this is the new norm of life. So how are you, I mean, with everything happening with quarantine, how are you surviving? Are you hanging in there?
A lot of drinking. A lot of drinking involved, crying in the tub. You know, like I think what everybody else is doing. I'm going out for groceries in a full hazmat suit, basically. Yesterday I put up a poll on my Instagram to see if I should get goggles with a gas mask, or if I should get steampunk gas masks that are made of leather. None of them are good for coronavirus. I'm just trying to find something to wear out in public. So
he's trying to go to Burning Man. I was like, you're going to Burning Man right now.
Yeah, basically that's the grocery store. You go to a grocery store, it's Burning Man.
Hey,
what it feels like.
So we get to still have our Coachella in a sense too. We get the Coachella, we get the Burning Man all happening at the grocery store.
All in one. All in one. I wanna, for viewers that don't know your story, I wanna take it back and just kind of start, you know, how you kind of moved at a young age into comedy, like the very beginnings. Give us a little historical 101.
Well, you know, like I grew up in San Diego doing, theater, acting in the live theater and stuff. And then I went to school in New York, graduated from AMDA, the musical theater conservatory. And then I got my big break playing Shrek in Shrek the Musical on Broadway in the original workshops and readings of the Shrek musical, and then left that show and did a Big Time Rush on Nickelodeon for 5 years.
Wow.
That was kind of how I found my way into the biz, you know?
I like that. The biz.
Right?
The biz.
The entertainment industry.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, you have this album out, Voices in My Head. And, for people who don't know what that is, spill a little tea on what that's about and how that all came together.
Sure. So, about 7 years ago, I've been doing stand-up for 16 years in Los Angeles and in New York at the Comedy Store and the Improv and the Factory and all the different comedy clubs. And about 7 years ago, I put out an album on my own. Like, I self-published a stand-up album called Stories for Grown-Ups. And it was basically just so that I had something out there. Like when you're first coming up as a comedian, there's a lot of encouragement to do a stand-up album. When are you going to do an album? When are you going to do an album? And so I just kind of followed along with everybody else. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to put one out. And so I made it myself, recorded it, and dropped it. And then it's been about seven or 8 years since then. And I write a lot, and I started kind of feeling on stage that there was a rhythm that was happening between all the different, jokes and all the different bits and things I was working on, and saw a tie that kind of binded all of them together. And I was like, okay, I think it's time. Yeah, maybe it's time to do another one. And then a record label, a big comedy record label, hit me up and asked if I wanted to do an album with them. And so it wasn't, this time it wasn't up to me. It was more like a thing from them asking if I wanted to do one with them, and then they published it, they put it out, they recorded it, and they did all the press for it and stuff. So so that's been it, you know. It's just the weird part is the album came out on my birthday, which was March 17th, and we had a big launch planned and a party and a big performance, and it all got canceled. The tour, everything got canceled. So, you know, it's nice now the album is out, and people, if they have Pandora, they can listen to it for free. If they have Spotify, they can listen to it, or if they want to
put them plugs in now.
Yeah, so I want to touch on the fact that you just mentioned, like 17th of March was going to be launched. As a comedian, as an entertainer, how have you kind of been able to, you know, keep to your craft and be able to reach, I think humor, I think comedy in this very moment is needed more than anything, because we are all crying in the bathtub. I'm going to go do that right after this Zoom call. That's right. How are you keeping, you know, your chops honed and, like, you know, getting the word out?
You know, like, honestly, I'm doing two different things. One, I made it a very distinct decision when this all went down that I was not gonna, like, push myself into writing the next great novel, and that I wouldn't be mad at myself if I need to take a day here and there to, like, not do anything and just play video games and take my dogs for a walk. Like, I've been trying to take the pressure off myself a little bit, but at the same time, I've been doing stand-up on Zoom for different, like, crowds of people, and them, like, paying to have me come do it through different organizations have, like, reached out, and the Jewish Federation just had me perform for, like, 15 couples on Zoom, and it was a good payday and a fun thing to do, and a lot of comics are doing that. And then the other thing that I'm doing just to kind of get through it, and it's taking up a lot of my time, but it's really cool, is I've worked a lot in animation over the years as a voiceover actor. And so something that I've always wanted to do is learn how to animate and draw and make stuff myself. And so I've been taking stand-up bits from my album and hand animating them, like, frame by frame. And
no, that's not the Clinton thing that I saw. Wow,
that's so dope.
That's sick. With the audio flashing, that's so sick.
Yeah, I've done about 3.5 minutes of it at this point. Like, I did Bernie Sanders, Bill Clinton, and Donald Trump, and then I'm working on another one right now that's taking up, like, you know, a bunch of time, and it's fun. Like, it's a fun thing to do. It's not, you know, I'm sure there's other things I should be doing, but I'm enjoying it. Like, I'm having a good time, and
keep those creative juices flowing for sure. That's sick.
That's dope, and I think you hit on a good topic, because you said that you're also taking time to have self-care, because we know being in this industry, it can drive you crazy a little bit. So I feel like you're doing, like, the good thing of taking time to, like, reset, but then also, like, picking up a new craft and doing this whole new normal thing. Could you get used to this whole new normal of being a comedian online?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's a good question.
Yeah, because, I mean, what if this is now the new normal? Could you get used to it?
No.
Oh God, I hope not. I mean,
me too.
I don't know if I could, if that you know, would be something that I would want to do on a like, I think I'd probably put my energy into something else, or you know, go back to writing and go back to like I've written for like a couple networks over the years, and I've gotten to do stuff like that, and like maybe I could put my energy back into that instead of stand up. But I mean, I one of the big parts of stand up that's so much fun is being in front of people. So that's going to be a weird thing for quite a while. Like I spoke to some friends that are big like Broadway actors in New York, and they're being told that like Broadway isn't coming back till like September.
Wow.
So I mean, these are people who have built their entire lives around living in a very uncomfortable, like New York is not an easy city to live in.
Nope.
So they're like living in an uncomfortable, expensive city, and like, you know, hoping that their industry is going to come back. Like it's weird, man. It is a funky
It's
time.
weird for everybody. But I think for, you know, someone like you who's an entertainer, not to say that it's easier, but there's ways of when you are an entertainer and a creator and finding these creative ways compared to people who do kind of, I guess, have like the 9-to-5 job where they're like, I don't know what's going to happen. But as creators, we can, you know, find new ways. Like I would have never thought in a million years, like to come on a Zoom and be like, I'm going to sit here and listen to a comedian. But
it's sick. It's the new wave.
Yeah, and you know, I got to tell you, I give a lot of big credit to the people that have to work at grocery stores and the people working in hospitals and doing food delivery and all that stuff. Like that is like you know, like last night it was pouring rain, and it was like. I know that there are people out there ordering food and getting delivery all day, all night, and you're like, oh my God, like to have to deal with, you know, coronavirus stuff, and then on top of it having to deal with like people, you know, it's just
this struggle.
The struggle is real. I wanna kind of lighten it a little bit. I wanna know, when you're in front of an audience, how do you know? You know, what's your kind of motto on what's too far to go in comedy? Do you have a threshold that you won't cross, or do you kind of like anything's open game?
I mean, look, you know, there's like you know, I always believe that if something is funny, then it's like, if you can make, no subject should be off limits. I feel like everything is on the table for stand-up comedy, because that, you know, now with that being said, you have to make it funny. Like you can't just because everything is on the table and we have the right to say whatever we want to say doesn't mean that it's gonna be good. Like,
there you go.
So like, you know, and you take it into your own, like as a comedian, you know, you take it into your own hands to kind of be like, all right, I believe enough in this material that I'm going to go and push for it. I personally have like certain things that I won't talk about or won't do, like in my, you know, and that's evolved over time. Like in my stand-up act, I do a lot of impressions and a lot of voices in my act. And there are certain accents or impressions that I feel like at this point maybe are not the best idea for me to do. Like, for example, I do like a Southern accent. I do an Irish accent. I do like a Middle Eastern almost like a Pakistani Persian accent that I do. It's an impression of a dear friend of mine who's Persian, so I do him. I do Fabio, the male supermodel.
You do a mean Obama. I was laughing.
I do Obama. But with that being said, I used to have a bit that's a true story about a woman that works at the DMV here in my area, who is an African American woman, and I will not do the impression of her on stage anymore because I just was like, nah, I feel like there's something wrong about it. Like I don't know why.
Okay.
For me, that was too far. Now that being said, that it's the same thing with I had like I don't have any issue doing a Hispanic accent, but doing a Chinese accent, I feel like is not a move right now. Like it just doesn't feel right. But it's like there are certain the way that I always approach accents and I always approach material is that I'm never in my act, and you can always listen to it. I'm never, aside from the Southern accent, I really am never making fun of the person that I'm doing their accent or their voice. I'm making fun of myself and how that person had to deal with me because I've made horrible choices and have pissed off these people. And by doing their accent, it makes it's a more entertaining way of performing it. But I just over the years, there's certain things where I've just gone, yeah, you know what, this is not. It makes me uncomfortable. Or when I look out at the audience, I'm catching a vibe where I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do this, like, so yeah, I mean, it's tricky.
Interesting.
That's a very interesting take, especially because I've never been able to really sit down with a comedian and ask well, kind of what are you thinking or what's too far? Like, I mean, even when I think about, I was listening to your album with politics and how that can always be a super touchy subject. But I will say I laughed my ass off about the whole Trump thing with Aladdin. Like,
Thank you. That's very sweet of you.
Yeah. So, I mean, but I think it is all open game when someone is a comedian. I guess there is boundaries, but there is kind of none. You know what I mean? So.
Well, like, I don't know language-wise what you can say on this show or
anything you fucking want.
Okay, so here's an example. So there's a joke at the end of my album where I talk about getting older, and I say I always say when you're young, things are so much fun when you're a young person. Who's the youngest person here? And then someone will raise their hand. I'll go, how old are you? They'll go, oh, I'm 21. I'll go, all right, give them a round of applause. And then I'll say, what about you? I was like, well, when you get old, when you get older, like me and this guy here, sir, what, how old are you? And then the guy will say, I'm 35. And I'll go, wow, you look like shit. Oh my God. And here's the thing is, every time on stage, it always gets a laugh when you say it to a man that he looks like shit. And I will pick out a young looking guy to say that he is as old as me, and then I'll shit on him. And people love it. If I do that to a woman instead of a man, it will get an icy, horrible response from the audience, because the audience does not mind me shitting on another adult man, but they do absolutely have a problem with it being a woman. So there's but I've seen guys like Jeff Ross, who is an absolute master of roasting people, go after women in the room and kill, and they love it, and it crushes. But yeah, he's a very smart comedy writer and better than me.
Everyone has their own lane for sure.
Yeah.
Hey, you got everyone has their own way of doing it, and I just I know how far I can go.
I love it.
I love that. Well, on that note, should we do some quick rapid fire?
I'm pulling them up. You wanna start, lady in the Wait, this is like Brady Bunch. Top right square. You hit
Yes.
it, Ari.
Wait, you know what? Wait, before we go there, I did want to ask you this one last question because it slipped my mind, but I do want to ask because I think it's important. If you had someone who wanted to sit down and have some tea with you, sip a little tea, spill a little tea, what would you say has been like a key ingredient, which we know there's no key ingredient to success, but what has made you have such long-term success in your career?
Good.
How to say that there was a key ingredient?
I think it's don't be afraid to think outside the box is like such a easy thing to say, but it really is a pretty big deal. Like, you know, like and I try to explain this to people on a pretty regular basis, but like if like let's say, you know, okay, you guys have this show, Sippin on Tea, right? So you're like, oh man, you know what'd be awesome is if Sippin on Tea was sponsored by like Lipton iced tea, right? Right? Like that'd be awesome. So how do you get from this point how do you get from the point of not being sponsored by Lipton iced tea to being sponsored by Lipton iced tea? So one way you can do that is hire like a publicist and have the publicist go after brand clients, or hire like a brand manager that can put you into a loop with like a bunch of other companies that they're all trying to get ad stuff. There's lots of ways to do it. Or you could go on LinkedIn and you could look up Lipton iced tea, the company. Then you could look at their employee list, and then you could find the person in the employee list that works in marketing, and then you could call Lipton iced tea's home office in Ohio, and you could ask to speak with that person, and then tell them how amazing you are. And I will guarantee you, the person that you reach out and talk to, you will be the most exciting person they will talk to that entire day. They are not getting phone calls from people from a cool show. Like,
well, guess what? You're hired.
Right?
You're ready to go, brother.
That's what I'm saying is that thinking outside the box in this industry across the board is really, really important. And also having respect for the industry that you're in. So, like, if you're an actor and you know that you're auditioning for a casting director, don't go to the casting director's house and bother her at home. You know what I mean? Like, don't send her flowers in the mail to thank her for an audition. Just respect the process, do the auditions, be good, and hope that you get cast. Like, have respect for your industry, but also think outside the box, find ways of making a difference in your own.
Ooh, that was some good tea.
Did you take that notes, Ari? Because I'm going to be calling that Lipton iced tea. Let me tell you.
I sure did. Hey, I love it, and that's why you're successful, because it's kind of like what you're saying. When people yin, you yang. When people yang, you yin, and do different of what everyone else is doing. So we're gonna be calling Lipton iced tea.
Do it. You should totally do it.
We're on it. All right, let's hit this rapid fire, Ari.
Rapid fire. Okay, so who's the last person who slid in your DMs?
Last person that slid in my DMs. Oh my God. Like a lady way?
Anyway, you took it there, brother. You took it there.
God, I wish I had the last person that slid into my DMs just in any kind of way was Tom Arnold. I talked to him last week because he was checking out. He watched one of my animated videos from my stand-up thing.
Okay.
There you go. There you go. All right.
Fan.
What nickname did your parents used to call you by?
Steve. My mom called me Steve a lot when I was growing up, which is not a big deal. But a lot of my friends call me Glicky and Glickers and the Glick. So
The Glick. I like that.
And then so the last question is, what is the craziest thing a fan has ever said to you?
The craziest thing that I've witnessed was the first Pigeon Toady tattoo. That was Pigeon Toady is the character I played in the movie Storks, the Warner Brothers movie, and one of our fans from the movie got it tattooed on his leg, and then another fan got it tattooed on his arm, and that was pretty extreme. That was a pretty extreme.
That's some dedication.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, and then the other weird fan thing, I guess, was like when I was on the Nickelodeon show and it was at its highest popularity, I did sleep with someone's mom because of it. So I was on vacation and there was a mom.
Leave it at that. We're gonna.
Wait, I'm living for that shit. That's it. That was a hot show though. That was
She had a big spider tattoo on her neck. I do not remember her name. She was wonderful.
Oh, well, on that note, we're gonna thank you for coming on today and spilling that tea over here on Sippin.
Anytime.
Where can
Thanks
people
for
find you? Where can people find you? What's Instagram, website, the album? Plug it away.
You bet. You can always get me at Stephen Glickman, STEPHEN Glickman. That's on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. The album is called Voices in My Head, and my podcast is called The Nighttime Show, and we are, I think, our 170th episode just aired. So
Check it out.
Check it out.
Get it. You guys can follow me across the board at Ariane Andrew and this little nugget at Glitty Glit.
You can follow me at Matt Dillon 1983 and Little Miss Mama here. Until next time, kids.
We will catch you guys next week on Sippin' the Tea.
Quarantine edition. Thank you, my brother.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I did it. I killed him. I'm the one that did the killing. I do the killing. I do the best killing. I do the best killing. Everyone knows. I do the best killing.